This is your October eclipse season portal reading. So we're going to really focus on what's coming up right now in this eclipse season portal from you from the 14th to the 29th of October. But I would like to go back to the start of the month first because I think it's really relevant to what's going on now. So the Six of Swords is representing a past energy. And it's interesting because we go from the Six of Swords in the past energy to the Five of Swords in the present. Okay, so there was something that you had thought that you had moved on from. There seems to have been some sort of a calming down or a peaceful resolution. There may have been some forgiveness, or at least you thought that this was not an issue anymore. As far as you were concerned, you were really in a period of your life at the beginning of the month, even from late September, where you thought the worst was over in a sense around this issue. You thought everybody had moved on, laid down their swords. You actually really started to see as well at the beginning of October who was your support system and like where you could turn to when you needed help or assistance or any kind of support really that would help you move on from what seems to have been a turbulent situation. And I will pull more cards, of course, to clear this all up and see what's going on. But the Five of Swords cropping up and we're revisiting something now. It's like, oh, okay, so that wasn't okay, or that wasn't kosher or chill. We are actually still experiencing an issue together. So instead of thinking and that you had fully moved on from something at the beginning of the month, it seems like you've kind of been dragged back into something at the moment. Maybe that eclipse on the 14th was a fresh kind of fanning of the flames, so to speak. And now the Five of Swords is you saying like, okay, so I guess we're still in battle in a sense, or I guess there's still a problem here, or we still have to try and communicate our way through a deeper issue because maybe there was a little bit of sweeping under the rug and perhaps there was a kind of premature resolution, and really there was still something that was left on a cliffhanger or miscommunicated, or there was still a great deal of tension there. I feel like the Six and Five of Swords are linked, and then separately there is something really cool coming through this month, the Ace of Pentacles. Now this is looking towards the end of the month, maybe with that second eclipse of October, which is a lunar eclipse in the sign of Taurus. This is unrelated, I think, to what you've been dealing with. I do see issues coming up with Tauruses themselves in your life, but especially Aquarians. There might be something going on with an Aquarius for you. If those signs aren't somebody you're dealing with, that's absolutely not to worry. I just wanted to point it out where I do see like a little bit more tension or even blessings and focus. The Taurus lunar eclipse seems to really bless you though, Aquarius. Correction, Aries. You're like, don't mention the Aquarius. The Ace of Pentacles is this blessing that's coming your way, and it's very deserved by you because the aces, and I really think especially the Ace of Pentacles, can feel deeply in alignment. And if this is related to this, what I would be saying is you are kind of dropping something, and maybe this isn't a conflict. It could be like not a personal conflict with somebody else, or you know, some of you are like, well, it's not just a conflict, it's like a shitstorm, or we really have to get back into something that you thought was left in the past. That might actually be something like, you know, something you were working on, a project, something that you had imagined for yourself to be a certain way, and this was, you know, you were applying yourself to it. Then you realize like, okay, there's actually a lot of friction here, or I'm meeting a lot of resistance, and then you might drop it. You might say, well, I'll park it, or I'm going to accept a bit of defeat there. Some of you may say, we'll pull more cards and clear it up. So then this big fat shiny Ace of Pentacles can be presented to you like a reward, like a new offer, a new opportunity, like some sort of a little treat or a blessing that comes through for you towards the end of the month because you've cleared some space for it, or maybe you've just tackled something head on in a sense. Okay, before we pull cards to clear that up, I just want to figure out what archetype you've been working with at the moment, Aries. Okay, an archetype card for the sign of Aries. Now, these archetypes can extend past just this month of October or this eclipse season portal. It can be something you've been working with for a while now. There was an eclipse in Aries all the way back in April, which was a lot more positive because it was a north node eclipse than the one perhaps we're dealing with right now. The self, which is you, Aries, and perhaps you do feel like all the way back in April you were like, I was really on to something, I was really starting something that was like really effective and really focused on yourself in some way, like things were just working very well for you. And that's not to say that that's not the case going forward or anything like that, but you may just notice that something in your life is like really not moving with as much momentum as it was all the way back in April. But I'm sure that's just going to switch up for you again. Okay, here we go. Trying to get better at, you know, Roman numerals. XX1X. Okay, the self, the soul, the witness, the watcher. The self is the prism that allows the spectrum of our personalities to radiate. It does not judge, prohibit, suppress, or oppress any of its parts, as it lovingly knows that all aspects have a time and place and leads us to an experience the full breadth of life's offering. The self is the central abiding container, the awareness of infinite universe of possibilities. When this card appears, it is a call to step back and to witness consciousness, to observe yourself navigating the world. So maybe you're in this period now, in the like kind of grander scheme of like accepting new aspects of yourself altogether and kind of like holding space for many different parts of yourself as you navigate the world around you. So let's go into this reading somewhat deeper. The Six of Swords. This is the issue that you thought had passed you by. You thought you were moving on from it only to be right back in it or revisiting it later on in the month. So let's have a look at then what you were moving on from. Originally you thought, happy days, no need to worry about this, that's behind me. And it seems like, you know, the self talks about acceptance. It seems like you really had like accepted something for what it was, and it might have taken you a while to get there. The Four of Cups and the Page of Pentacles. I mean, this was the conversation that took place, and it was very much like, no, don't worry, we're not going to do that. The Four of Cups was sort of like, I don't have any interest in, be it arguing, I don't have any interest in pursuing this with you. It's a no from me, dog, with the Four of Cups. And you were kind of over it, and you thought that let sleeping dogs lie, maybe that's the dogs I'm hearing, but it's like, we had drawn a line under the sand, we had the conversation, communicated everything about how we were feeling, and I really get that people were starting to show a lack of interest around you, and you were very much just like picking up on that and sort of saying, well, if you're not interested in is it hanging out, if you're not interested in learning with me, if you're not interested in doing this, that's okay, let's just move on. For others though, there was like a field of study or research that you're no longer well, you thought maybe you were no longer participating in. You had something that you were going to sort of consider studying, a class, a course, a diploma, or some sort of a degree, and you were thinking, okay, I'm going to apply myself to this and soak up a lot of the knowledge that's been offered to me. And maybe you resigned to then saying like, you know what, that's not working for me right now, and I'm going to just take some time to think about that. And maybe now it's like you're revisiting a part of that, but in a different way, and maybe you're going to just say, you know, I learned a lot, but at the moment I can't, it's not working for you. And the Four of Cups is also like, you've been kind of very much over a situation anyway. So I'd say for a lot of you, going from the Six back to the Five of Swords now, it's sort of like, damn, I do not want to revisit this. I was already over it. I already wasn't interested in that. And the fact that now you're kind of like landed back into the thick of it, or having to revisit or have something dragged back up for you, that must be kind of frustrating, especially since you spoke your mind, especially since you were a Page of Pentacles, like you spoke your truth, You communicated your side of it, and now the fact that you have to get back into that must be a little annoying for you. So let's see what you are getting back into now. What are you dragged back into, and where are you experiencing this tension in your life? It seems like this is very like current for you. It's like what you're dealing with the past week or two. But here you are with the Emperor card at the bottom of the deck and the Self card. I mean, there's a bigger lesson here, and this is the only kind of major arcana energy we're seeing. Aries is the sign of the self, and the Emperor knows very much about their own sense of like right to be here, right to navigate the world, right to take up space, right to bend the external world to their own wills and whims. Well, I don't know if that's necessarily a right, but I think the Emperor probably believes that it is. So on a bigger picture than just what's going on right here in front of you, you are actually kind of like figuring out a brand new sense of self. And a lot of it is to do with like letting go of some of the fatigue, or what brings you fatigue and things like that. And maybe you're just learning at the moment the hard way about who in your world is actually kind of very much draining to you. That's another possibility. So maybe we should look into that Five of Swords and see what's going on. Okay, so this Aquarian energy, the Fool card just popping out of the deck there. There is a possibility that, if not an Aquarian, that somebody that you're dealing with, it just wasn't where you were then. And it's not that they want to rehash this again and again, or it's not that they even want to keep this going. It's more like they just didn't get to say their piece, and they want to be able to move on, clean slate, start fresh, but they just didn't get to, whether it was their choice or not. At the time, they could have been shocked, they could have been in denial, they could have been just not ready, they hadn't processed. So now they might be, or this situation might be coming back up for you again, because before the other party or the situation you were dealing with, there was a lack of readiness there. And you're like, well, I'm kind of over it, really. Yeah, the Four of Cups, it says over it on that person's top. Okay, let's have a look at the Five of Swords. The Star in reverse, which is more Aquarian energy, and the Ten of Wands in reverse. Yeah, so at the moment I can see that there is a frustrating energy around you, because it does seem a lot like the 10 steps forward, 12 steps back. And that's very annoying, because especially since it had already been annoying or stressful or frustrating or conflicting for you. You may already have felt like to the point where like you were sort of might have had to just accept defeat or surrender, because you were thinking, they're not going to ever get me, understand me. So it's kind of like talking to a brick wall, right? This brick wall right here. And now it's kind of like you've processed some of it. You're still probably working through it, but now that this situation has reared its presence again, you kind of have to feel like you're taking a step back, and you feel overburdened right now by this. It's like, it's not fair, I shouldn't have to keep dealing with this, it's not my problem, this shouldn't all fall on me, why do I have to pick up the slack, why do I have to carry the load or the weight of all of this? And the Star card, you know, behind what's appearing just on the surface here is this Star card of like, what's this doing for my healing journey? Like, am I still triggered? Yes, maybe. And if you are, you know, that could be the why this is happening on another level. The Star card is, of course, the card of renewal and healing, and I guess forward movement and aspirations and goals and things like that. And, you know, your plans and hopes and dreams for the future. And because it's in the reversal, you feel in a sense thwarted now, because whatever's going on in your life is slowing you down. but it's not going to be forever, of course, we know that, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't feel entirely burdensome, if not very exhausting at the moment, and if not, like, you feel it's not right, it shouldn't be happening. The Ace of Pentacles is exciting because there are still blessings to come in this eclipse season portal. Maybe they appear in the next week or two. Maybe it's just after the eclipse on the 28th. The beginning of November is actually a really nice time astrologically as well, when the dust is starting to settle more and more from the intensity of this current eclipse season, which I know we're feeling on the collective. And I have Aries Mercury, Aries Venus myself, and I have written and drafted so many things, and I've just had to bite my tongue because they're things I've already spoken about, and I'm just kind of like, I feel as well like, am I flogging a dead horse here? But it's that impulsivity, or it's my natural reactions coming up. So maybe you're experiencing the same thing, like you've already spoken on this, you've already addressed it, you've already made your point of view clear, how you feel, what you want from it. And if the other person or the situation or the desire wasn't ready at the time for you to kind of bend it to your will and have that be yours, or have that cleared up, or have it go basically Aries the way you exactly wanted it to go, you kind of were like, all right, I'll move on, I'm over it, I'm not going to keep pursuing it, I've said my piece. And I think then for some of you it's like, well, you weren't over it, because then this wouldn't be a problem, you know, you would just like allow this to come back into your life and kind of not even bat an eyelid to it. Well, that might not be the easiest thing for everybody, because some of it's just like landing in a big pile on your lap, and it's heavy and it's hard to ignore. So, but for others there's a trigger there, which is this like, well, it still bothers me, or this still kind of like is taking up a lot of your attention. And the Star card is saying, yeah, because you know, you haven't fully healed yet, and you're like, well, I know I was doing that, I was in the process of that. And the Star card is like, well, here it is in your face, you really haven't. And it's a frustrating and pretty defeating period of time this week or last week or whatever this has been doing. You know, let's see then what we can have to look forward to as that situation gets figured out. That might be a minute, Aries, you know, that might be a minute. The 10 of Wands in reversal, it takes some time to sort of, it is often the straw that breaks the camel's back, but because of how long we've given ourselves to that situation, or allowed that to kind of creep up, sometimes then it's not just as quick as saying like, okay, straw broke the camel's back, end of story. Like, you know, there's sometimes pieces to pick up, and there's sometimes still a process that has to happen. So this might still play out for a while. But in other news, or on the other hand, there's something else emerging for you, which is the Ace of Pentacles. And I am going to do an extended reading on this, and you're going to find that on my Patreon channel, which I'm going to link below. And what I will do about that is I will go deeper into each situation, plus I'll follow prompts for kind of more general love, money, spiritual purpose, career for Aries in the month of October. And like I said, I'll link my Patreon channel down below. You're going to find your extended reading there, plus loads of other content. But let's just get into the last portion of this reading and see what blessings await you. Great, another ace at the bottom of the deck. So this is kind of very exciting, very desirable. King of Cups, Two of Swords. Some of you, you know, can't believe how good this will be, because the Two of Swords represents some sort of a hesitation to this blessing, which is King of Cups. It's like, no, this is supposed to be overflowing for you. This is supposed to be more than you expected. It's supposed to be kind of like a reflection of the love in your heart being kind of like directed back to you. So it's supposed to be as big as that, and it's supposed to be as big as the love in the heart, in your own heart, that you have at this time. So that's going to vary for everybody depending where you're at right now, depending where you're at overall just this month. Like where do you find yourself, and you know, in the aftermath of a certain eclipse, in the aftermath of a intense October. there is a mirror for you that is going to be a reward either way, and a blessing, and something that you can tend to sort of underestimate your deserving around it. And I really hope that you hear this in time to sort of remember this. You do deserve this. This is on par with the love that you've been pouring out, be it forgiveness, be it acceptance, be it like generosity, presence, patience, kindness. How high of a dose of that have you been experiencing for yourself and allowing yourself that grace? And then how much of that have you been pouring out as well? Because like, it's like, wow. And there's the Six of Pentacles with a nice little present for you at the bottom of the deck. You deserve not one, two, multiple, six gifts, opportunities, blessings. It might not just be the one thing. There might be multiple avenues that this comes from, you know, and it's really, some of it is very exciting, I think, for you, but you do seem to second guess it, especially if it's coming from somebody you love very deeply. And especially if it's somebody, if you're single and you want to meet somebody, you might be like, oh, I don't know if I deserve this. And all of these self-limiting beliefs may come up. The other, though, option could be that it's just coming in its droves, in terms of like, this is such of a high quality of what it could offer you, happiness, love and fulfillment and joy, that you're like, you have this hesitation around accepting these gifts. Definitely open those arms to receive, because that's been coming for you. What happens around eclipses, the rewards, the gifts, the blessings, that's been coming for you for much longer than the month of October. Eclipses in astrology pertain to what's written, what's destined for us. Of course, the planets moving in the cosmos or the stars, that doesn't necessarily impact or cause anything to happen for us, but astrology can predict when the periods of predestination or fate mingle with our free will, and eclipse season portals are those times. So believe that this has been meant for you, and it's not a gift or an offer to reject. Perhaps that could be another consideration. Like I said, we'll get into this deeper into the extended, but for now I'll leave you with that, and I hope you have a great month, Aries. Bye.